what is something that you refuse to share?
Something that I refuse to share just with the general public, or just
Like at all, like this, I don't care who is what, this is mine and I'm not sharing with nobody.
what is something that I won't share? Are we talking about a physical?
It could be whatever. What is something that you refuse to share?
I really don't have anything that I refuse to share. I actually share everything for the most part. I don't care.
You don't keep anything to yourself?
I mean, obviously, no. I was gonna say my clothes, but beyond underwear, even my daughter. So no, I really do share almost everything. I don't share my shoes because nobody can fit mine because their feet are too big. So
It'd be the feet, yeah.
So that's one thing I don't share. But if you ask me intentionally, what is one thing I don't share or won't share, I couldn't even think of it. Like, I share everything.
Okay. So you just out here, just anybody, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can have like your books, your dishes, your obviously the shirt off your back.
Pretty much. I mean, materialism doesn't matter to me, and superficial.
Okay, so
I'm not
your failures, your successes, your strengths, your weaknesses.
I share all of
your memories, your what's another one? The essence of what makes you you.
I share everything. The essence of what makes me me. I don't think I share it. I think that I exude it. I think that that's a little more complex because I don't really feel connected to many people that really know who I am. So even those within my close circle. But as far as everything else, I share. I'm very transparent. I'm very open. I'm very giving, and these things don't necessarily belong to me like that. So I don't look at it that way when I am sharing.
Oh, okay. I think it's interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about things that I share, things that I don't share, but I was just curious.
You and I come from big households, so we both have a whole bunch of siblings. You have two more than me. Other than that, we're pretty much the same. So in a ideal world, I probably would hold a lot of things dear to me, but given the lifestyle I had, I didn't really have the opportunity to not share because that was promoted heavily with a whole bunch of people around all the time.
Yeah.
I still haven't found my middle ground of being that good selfish of the things I decide not to share. So it's interesting enough.
So do you share because you have to? Do you share because you want to, or do you share because you were conditioned to?
I used to share because I was conditioned to and because I had to, but because it's a taught, behavior. But now I share because I want to.
Okay. Well, some people don't share because they want to. They share because they feel like they have an obligation to keep whomever it is around. So I think that's a good time to go ahead and jump in. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to an episode of Take Up Space Podcast. I am your host, Leah, and I have my sister, my friend, my road dog, Christina, here with me. Thank you so much for coming and being on the show with me. I greatly appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about people pleasing. That is something I know we both talked about previously and have experienced it. And even I was on the other side of that. So do you consider yourself a people pleaser?
Not anymore. There was a point in time in my life that I was a people pleaser, and it wasn't so much for the typical gain as far as how some people pleasers make themselves subservient to others so that they can get approval. I really didn't care about approval. I just had a different mindset of it because one, I always never wanted I never wanted to treat people the way that I was treated. So, I definitely wanted to be intentional about how I cared for others around me. Also, um I just I guess it was just more so the guilt of having abundance and not sharing it if there's people in need, the thought of people being in need, the thought of ever being in need myself, and having those that were in need turn their back on me. So I just kind of developed this habit of always trying to constantly take care of others around me. And after a while, you start to see certain behaviors in people when they take advantage of you due to that, and it kind of left a really negative mark on me and kind of changed the way I did things. But I did have to also take accountability and realize that in doing a lot of the people pleasing that I did before, even if the intention behind it was good, the actions weren't as good. And I say that because once you start to get entangled with people and they begin to manipulate you or use you, then you start to feel compelled, or like you said, obligated to do things out of the fact that you don't want the love to go away, or the friendship and camaraderie, or you don't want to make people upset. And in your mind, those things sound right. They seem valid, but the truth of what you're doing is you're enabling people and you're setting yourself up to give this expectation that you don't care enough about yourself, or that you're not important. So you begin to minimize yourself, and people see that and they feed off it naturally. Now, are they wrong? Yeah, but are they as wrong? No, because you're technically giving everything away. When you start to do that, nothing really belongs to you anymore. So you just serve as a person that is a tool or a vessel, but not in such a positive light, but more so as a tool or means for another person to get by. And it just becomes a really negative situation at that point.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. When I was a people pleaser, it was because I was a social butterfly, and sitting by myself for extended periods of time is not something that I consider a good time. So I would do what I can to make sure. I would throw parties, I would host events, I would, pay for lunches, whatever it was, just to be able to just hang out with people, because I was so used to, like you said, we both grew up in large families. I was so used to having people around me that I became that type of people pleaser. And it really only lasted, that aspect only lasted for maybe for a couple of years. But recently, I have thought about why it started and how I was able to get out of that. But just like you said, people who people please really are looking for some sort of validation, some sort of exchange, some sort of energy from another person, whether it be materialistic, whether it be emotional, whether it be mental. It doesn't matter what it is. They're looking to get something out of somebody else. So they feel like if they do or bend and, remove all boundaries to allow themselves to be used in that way, they think that the exchange or the payoff is going to be worth it. I I actually went from people pleasing to manipulator, like real quick. And it was easy to make the change because it's easy to see when you have your mind locked on, well, I need to be able to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I can look at people and tell who would be the ones who would want to reach in to quote unquote help me out.
And
So
that's the thing. That's typically what happens with people pleasers. You end up getting intertwined with someone else that has a need, and it may be a temporary need, it may be a permanent need, it may be a forever need, but you end up getting intertwined with them. They understand, at that moment that you're able to do for them. And depending on, the type of help you give, the way you go about it, and being a people pleaser, there's more enthusiasm, even if it's not authentic. It's just more of that extra pull to, like, I have to help you. So it gets misconstrued by the other end, where it's like, okay, well, if you have this burning desire to help me, then you must want to help me some more, or, oh, if I see that you're able to help me, for example, with money, let's say maybe I borrowed $1,000. Well, technically, you must be doing well enough to afford to let me borrow that $1,000. Therefore, now let me ask for $1,500. Let me ask for $2,000. Let me see how far I can take this situation and go from there. And in your mind as a people pleaser, you think you're helping the greater good, or that you're doing a great deed, that you're serving God, that you're making someone's life better, which is really narcissistic. But
we rationalize it. We rationalize that, and it's like we make sure that we put in our minds that we have to do this because if we don't, no one else will. When in reality, this person has maybe 4 or 5 people, if they don't have it already themselves, because more than likely they don't want to do it themselves, right? They reach out, they have like 4 or 5 other people that they can actually reach out to.
Right. It's a network.
Yeah, but as people pleasers, we take that sense of like Captain Save 'em, and
savior complex.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I must. It is my mission. I have to. And it's like, but do you really? Do you really?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is what people don't realize. It could be due to your own personal illnesses, experiences, addictions, the impact of your upbringing, mental health, or just bad life circumstances that put you in a position to feel so vulnerable and helpless, in a sense, to where you have low self-esteem and you aren't really prioritizing self. A lot of people, whether they admit to it or not, they're very great at self-preservation because of their selfishness, because of their narcissism, because of their inability to connect with others and to feel or a desire to want to be connected to others. So they live within self and their ego, and they only prioritize them. And those who are giving for whatever reasons, like the causes I stated just a moment ago, there's just this vulnerability to where it propels them to feel inclined to do certain things within their reach, and things that are not within their reach, and that can be very dangerous. I think that people may not know that they're a people pleaser. They may not understand the depths of a people pleaser or the negative connotations of one, because they're looking at the things they do as just daily interactions and not really realizing that they're toxic. So definitely I would love to touch on that as far as some of the little habits or tendencies of people pleasing, and just knowing that I can say that I was one. And even though, like I said, my intent behind it wasn't negative, it really does control your life. It really does take away from your life and state of well-being, because you minimize, like I said, you minimize yourself. you begin to become invisible or small, whereas this other person's world is way more important and way bigger, or you're not a part of it together as a collective.
Yes, that is the key right there. Shrinking yourself to allow someone else. Like there are times when it's okay to shrink yourself to allow the next person to come up after you. But if in your own movie you are not the star, in your own movie you're still someone who's off in the wings, or you're minimizing yourself for the sake of whatever this person is offering you in exchange, or if they're even offering you anything, it makes it so that you start to devalue who you are. You don't even realize how much impact you have on so many people. Merriam-Webster defines people pleaser as someone that pleases or wants to please people, often a person who has an emotional need to please others, often at the expense of his or her own needs or desires. So I one thing that really like snapped me out of people pleasing is realizing that I'm losing parts of myself. I'm losing parts of sleep. I'm losing parts of emotional attachments, and for the sake of maybe a piece of validation from another individual who can't do anything but tell me, "Oh, thank you." They have nothing else to offer me. So in a sense of people pleasing for this, because people pleasing for the sake of people pleasing is someone who's trying to fill some kind of void by like removing their boundaries to allow some other person to use them. And I think that establishing boundaries is one of the ways that's just like help for me to break out of that. But going from people pleaser, I think I over okay, so I learned that I was pretty good at manipulation, like people manipulation, pretty early in life. But because I didn't want to be seen as a liar or a cheater or someone who can't be trusted, I turned to people pleasing. So I went the complete opposite. And then like after a few years of that, became people pleaser. And then I was like, I don't like this. So it's like trying to find that balance. So what I do now to make sure that that people keep me honest is I talk about it. Like, listen, for those people out there who are people pleasers, just know it's a 3-month cycle. It takes 2 weeks to go ahead and build up your confidence, some good callback credit. Like, yes, I'll call you back. Yes, I'll go ahead and take care of you. Oh, don't worry about lunch. I got it. It takes about 2 weeks to build up that confidence. After about 2 weeks, I got your confidence up, and I tell you how, and I validate you, how amazing you are, how awesome it is that I get to know you. Couldn't imagine my life without you. All the honeymoon stuff, right? And then after you hear all the honeymoon stuff, now you're flown on cloud 9. Oh my gosh, this is the best person I've ever met. I can't believe we didn't know each other sooner. Then I get to start using you for small stuff. Hey, can you take care of this? Hey, do you mind doing this? Hey, go. And then it go, instead of asking questions, it's now orders. Go do these things. Go take, because I know you're going to do it, because on the strength of we're friends. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for the people pleaser to catch on, because by this time they're probably busy and their friends are like, hey, what's going on with you? Why are you doing so much for this other person? Why are you sacrificing so much for them? What are they doing? And they come back and question you, like, you don't give me anything. And then that's when you go back into, oh no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to put too much on you. Let me go ahead and take some of that stuff off. So you stop asking for stuff for about a couple of weeks to get that credit built back up and start the cycle all over again. Yeah. And this, I'm telling you, it's like clockwork. It's like clockwork. So I make sure that my circle is small, one. That way I don't have to worry about being tempted by it. But I use my I use my skills of validating people for good, as in encouraging them, as in helping them, as in wanting them to be better than where they are as they want to grow. And using my skills in that way has been way more beneficial. The return has been greater than people pleasing or manipulation combined, because now they're able to help other people, when before it was just like a give or take, but never both.
Yeah, I think people need to practice healthy emotions and healthy relationships within their immediate families and circle of friends and coworkers, colleagues, however peers, however you view them. I think that healthy practices are important. I think that boundaries is the biggest, factor in changed behavior, because the thing is, we don't owe anybody anything. Obviously, it's so cliche to say because it's already known, but in the mind of a people pleaser, it's not viewed that way. There's a lot of anxiety around it because of the need to focus and pour into another person so much. And you may do it with multiple people. You may just be one of those pushovers or run over type of people, or it may be specific somebodies that you're tied to for reasons, and for them it's more of an incentive to people please, because in your mind you're bartering and thinking as though you're getting something for this exchange, when it's really not an exchange, it's really one-sided.
Right.
And I think that's why people really need to understand the depths of people pleasing, because if you don't realize it, you're not going to recognize it. If you think that your behaviors are warranted and that they make sense, then you won't feel, the alternative ends of what happens due to people pleasing. And that's why I think that, just a roundabout description for people, you're a people pleaser if you pretend to agree with everyone. When your opinions, your facts, your knowledge, it doesn't matter. It's just more so about, the consensus of others. And you're just constantly conceding and not, giving any value to the situation, because you're not validating yourself, you're not important, you're invisible, you're shrinking, etc., etc. So I think that that's a big one, because people don't realize that is a form as well. And why are you doing that? Probably for likes. Nobody wants to not be liked, and all of that really brings it full circle in the realm of it. So feeling responsible for other people's emotions and feelings or actions, whereas it has nothing to do with you, but yet you then now take accountability for it.
Girl, that is so, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that is so true. So many people take they'll take somebody else's tone and say, well, because you said this to me in this tone, you obviously are being malicious in some sort of way. I was not even thinking about you. What are you talking about?
Well, the power of no for whatever reason comes off so negative, but no is empowering. No is freeing. No is, it's not indecisive. It's direct. And
right.
Because people don't,
or evasive.
Yeah.
Like some people
in their power. And so that's important. If you know that you feel burdened by doing things for people, then you are a people pleaser, because when you give, the mindset of one, not giving more than you can possibly give, giving out more than you have,
right.
stand and bear with, not expecting a return on your investment is important. And also not looking for a reaction or a thank you or an acknowledgement, understanding that this is for the greater good of things. I'm not looking for anything out of this. I'm just simply a conduit to this situation, and that's that. So if you feel burdened, more than likely you're a people pleaser, because it's not something that you want to do. It's not something that you feel empowered to do. It's something that you feel forced on. Not being able to say no, like I said, the power of no, that was a really hard thing for me. Even now, I am coming to terms with um, my power of no, because I'm not a mean person, but like we were just talking about, it comes off very maliciously, or a tone, or which is important. However, we're not baby stepping around people. No is
Right.
no. No is an actual word, and it is very direct. And yeah, there's ways to say no, but ultimately, no matter how you slice it, no is never going to be a pretty fluffy word. So if you get any flack from that, honestly, it's really a reaction to somebody understanding that the jig is up. I know I've been using this person. I know I've been taking advantage of this person. I know that I've been overbearing and overwhelming to this person. And either they're going to be defensive, or they're going to be like, okay, because they understand. So that's super important when you find yourself in a place where you can't say no. If you start to feel uncomfortable with people being angry, that lets you know this is a problem. Why am I worried about these other people's emotions when the situation that they're asking me to be a part of has nothing to do with me? I didn't inflict it. Why are you mad?
One more time for the people in the back. Listen,
So, if you start to emulate the people around you, personality wise, where you start to lose yourself, you're a people pleaser because you want to be in the consensus. Like, you're not willing to stand alone. And it says a lot about your self-esteem. So part of that, the need to feel good, the need to be praised, the validation piece that you were talking about, that's a sign of people pleasing. Why do you need someone else to validate who you are?
right.
You should be whole enough inside to understand who you are, why you were created, what your purpose is. Even if you don't understand your full purpose, you have purpose from the day you're born. So the fact that we put so much of our essence and our being into other people's hands where they can easily swallow us up or crumble us, it has a lot to do with people pleasing. The way that you avoid conflict. People say, I'm non-confrontational. Oh my gosh, I don't like confrontation. You're a people pleaser, because confrontation is a necessary evil. When there is conflict, you have to confront it. It is necessary. That is also a part of adulthood. So your maturity has to go up. And people don't understand that because they always associate chaos and conflict together to mean, oh, now it's got to be a fight. It's going to be a knockout, drag out brawl. Like, no, we can articulate this very respectfully at the same time. Yeah, we are conflicted at this point, and we need to figure this out. We need to address it. And then more so, the last point I just want to talk about that I understand very personally is you don't want to admit when your feelings are hurt. There's many times that I felt I was on the end of being used multiple times in multiple scenarios in multiple facets of relationships, and I dealt with it. It hurt. I didn't want to admit it. In my room alone, I might talk to myself about it. I may tell a close, confidant about it. But I didn't take action. I didn't do anything about it. I just let these feelings dwell inside. They don't do no good dwelling within me. And then you become resentful. You become bitter. You become angry. You become different. It's just a negative reaction from that. And so keep it in check how you feel, and being honest with yourself is really important, because the moment something doesn't feel good anymore, you need to question it. There's always ups and downs in all relationships. There's always going to be a seesaw of reciprocity. Everything does not equate the same. And even if I was to give you the same thing you gave me, it doesn't necessarily make us even. And so understanding that it's going to constantly be a give and take. But when you get to a place where you don't feel that things are right anymore, or you start to feel emotionally drained and hurt, something isn't right. And whether it's wrong or maybe misunderstood, you got to deal with it. You start with yourself, and then you address that person that's involved or the people that are involved. Because if you don't, then it becomes a compound situation. And overall, it ends up having worse effects on you, such as it could make you depressed. It could give you anxiety. Depending on how severe the giving and taking and manipulation is, it could leave you with PTSD. These are
Mhm.
things that are really important to think about. And if you feel you have no control over these things, then the best thing to do is to seek therapy. Someone that is a licensed professional that can help you sort out these emotions and feelings and boundaries, help you establish them,
Mhm.
help you sort things out to where you can find the root of the issue, and then you can find your power.
I think that is, you hit on like so many things. I tell almost everybody that I enter into whatever kind of relationship it is, platonic, romantic, it doesn't matter what it is. I let them know straight up, like, I can be confrontational, but that's because I don't like to let things fester.
Hmm.
If you mad about something, let's talk about it. If you upset about something, let's talk about it. Because if not, I'm just going to assume it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
And that's a little premature on my part, but I'm not going to try to force something out of you. So I think that it is very, and then at the same time, um, I tell people as well, if I have never had a disagreement with you ever, and I'm not saying off top we got to start fighting, but I can't trust you if you're not passionate about anything. And if we don't have a disagreement, then that means you're just going along to get along. And that's not the type of person who I would want in my circle, because I need people who are able to. I always need a no person. I always need a person who's going to check me. I always need a person, not somebody who's going to put me down or feel like they need to put me in my place, but I want someone who is going to challenge my thinking, someone who is going to challenge what I do and why I'm doing this, so that I can actually take time and not just be like, this is a great idea, I need to do it. And they can actually have that agency to say, no, that's actually not a good idea. I know where you're going, but that's not the direction that you should probably take. So
Right.
I think that confrontation is so necessary in any relationship. And if you don't have confrontation, I really question the relationship if there's no confrontation.
Yeah,
I really
not to
question
be
it.
misconstrued with I'm looking for confrontation.
Right, 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 right. Not that I'm looking for a fight every 2 seconds or
Right.
anything like that, but there are disagreements that arise. You may see something one way, and we can see the same thing, and I may see it as one way, and you may see it as another way, and we can have a disagreement about that, but we're able to articulate why we disagree. It's not a situation of we need to fight for the sake of fighting. Like, naturally, I like arguing for the sport, but it's not anything that belongs in healthy relationships where you're arguing just because. It's that distinction needs to be very important. But a couple things that I heard you say, um, that can help people kind of break this habit or even start to break down this habit is, um, I am a proponent of therapy. People need to go see a therapist at least once every 6 months just to get all that out. It doesn't matter what, I don't care how happy you think your life is or how much stuff you have pressed down. Go see a therapist. I am such a, like, yes, you need to go see a therapist. I am a yes person for that always. And if it doesn't work, it's like dating. Find another one. There's a lot of them. Support Black therapists out there. The second thing is to set boundaries. That is, no is a full sentence. I'm gonna say it again. No is a full sentence. You do not need to qualify why you are saying no. You don't have to qualify why you're not doing whatever it is they're telling you. Are you gonna come? No. Well, are you gonna be here? No. And especially when people, I never liked when people are like, so what's on your schedule for Wednesday? No, just tell me what you need. I'll tell you if I'm available.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
Tell me what you need and let me decide.
right,
Don't plan for me. Don't insert me into your storyline for whatever
right,
you're trying to make happen. I don't want to make fetch happen with you. I want to
right,
actually mind my business and be to myself. But
right.
I don't want to be rude and tell you to go, find yourself somewhere else. But I need you to understand that you don't own my schedule and
Right.
not on my calendar. So therefore, ask the right questions. I think that's what people need to do is kind of check themselves, ask correct questions, and say, hey, is this something that I would be comfortable with if someone just approached me with this? Or if someone approached me with this type of task or this type of burden or type of issue, would I feel comfortable helping? So who am I to ask for this?
Right. Exactly.
Self-reflection is really important too, because you can't be self-reflection.
Yes.
If you're not honest with yourself, if you don't know yourself enough, if you can't have hardcore conversations with yourself to kind of check yourself, then you're not going to have any change behavior.
No. Which is actually the next one, which is figuring out what your healthy habits in relationships are. Everybody's relationship does not look the same. And nor should it. Society has its standards. Your family has its standard. Your culture has its standards. Your area has its standards. However, figure out between you and the other person or you and your group what is healthy for the relationship. Start thinking about some things in the relationship. No, you're not going to be happy 100% of the time because we choose to be happy. We choose to be, things can happen to us and sometimes it makes us sad, but we choose happiness and we try to get to that point of being happy all the time. It's always going to be, like you said, an up and down where there are some great days and there are some not so great days, but figure out what habits you want to experience in your relationships that make them healthy. And a healthy relationship shouldn't hurt anyone. It shouldn't be malicious toward anyone. Just like you treat you well. And if you don't treat you well, that's why you need to go to therapy. Go back to point one. Exactly. But a healthy relationship should help you, not hinder you. And the last point I think you made is check your why. And this is one thing that I do consistently. Because if somebody asks me a question, oh, hey, are you able to come here? Are you able to do that? Well, especially with Corona, I don't really go anywhere. But when people ask me, do you want to be a part of this or do you want to do this? If my gut reaction is no, I'm more than likely going to go with it. I do check to am I saying no because I'm being lazy or am I saying no because I really don't want to do it? And if I really don't want to do it, I'm not going to begrudgingly agree to something just to pull out later because it makes my integrity or credibility with that group or with that person deteriorate. So if I say, if I say no, or if I am doing it to the benefit of someone outside of me, without me. If you're doing it for someone because you want to do it, that's fine. If you're doing it for someone because you need validation or you need a quick return like you were talking about, don't do it.
Exactly.
So that's why I make sure that I check my why on a regular basis, especially now with COVID-19. There's other opportunities that I have to connect with so many other people and virtually. And sometimes I don't want to connect. Sometimes there's stuff I don't want to do, but I have to check my why and not say yes just because I feel that it would get me A, B, or C. Say yes because I actually want to do it.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you for stopping by and chatting with me. This has been an episode of Take Up Space podcast. Where can they find you?
If you would like to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me under the @ of Chrissy Elaine. That's ChrissysYELAYNE at Instagram. So just look me up.
Okay, and her information is going to be down below in the description box. Please let us know, are you a people pleaser? If so, why? And If you're not, what habits or what characteristics have you developed to make sure that you don't fall into that trap? Thank you very much for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you tune in every Tuesday. We'll be here 9 a.m. Central Time. Thank you so much. You all have a great week.